Hello and welcome back to the channel. We're trying something new and different today. While we are taking the Rivian R1S from Sanibel up to Venice, Florida, the main focus is going to be on e-biking today. We're going to e-bike with our Aventine Pace 500.3 bicycles, and we're going to ride the Legacy Trail from Venice, Florida up towards Sarasota. I don't know if it gets all the way there or not. The other thing we're doing is on the drive up there, we had run the batteries down earlier today. We're actually recharging them with the outlets in the Rivian. So that's another way that the Rivian is helping support us on this bike ride trip. Here we go. Welcome back to E-Hermes, your electric adventure travel channel. Please remember to subscribe, hit the like button, and hit that bell button to be notified of our upcoming content. Just like that, we have arrived at Legacy Park in Venice, Florida, the southern terminus of the Legacy Trail.
So the trail starts at Legacy Park in Venice. It's a nice little park, has public restrooms, bottle fill station. First thing we have to do is get the bikes off the rack. There's a nice playground. And then the connector path that leads you to the main path. They also have a little railroad museum from the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey circus days when they used to be the winter headquarters. Then here we join the main trail. This is the Legacy Trail. To the north, to the south is there's a little hub of trails here. I forget the name of the one to the south, but there's 4 or 5 that all connect here. We're going to take the Legacy Trail today up towards Sarasota. They have a nice map that shows the trail. We cross some waterways here. First right out of the park, and it's 18 miles up to the end of this trail. Here we go. As is pretty typical in Florida, the trail is almost completely flat until you come to highway overpasses, which we rarely appreciate that we don't have to deal with the traffic. We can go up and over, but it is up, so we're happy to have the e-bikes with us. You can see there's some nice wetland areas it goes through. We're going to cross a bridge here over some of the wetland. And I do see up ahead that not all the road crossings are elevated. There's one at street grade, so we'll have to be careful there. These are some of the views, though. A cute little sculpture along the way.
Next along the route, we cross another water body, Donna Bay. This is a more principal navigation route, as you can see by the navigation markers that probably connect it to the Intercoastal Waterway, which then ultimately connects it to the Gulf of Mexico.
Here you can still see the old rails that the trail replaced. There are some industrial type areas it passes through, but generally it's through neighborhoods and nice vegetation like this.
In this area on the right hand side of the trail is a nice golf course, and over on the left hand side of the trail you see an apartment complex that overlooks the golf course. A little further along we see one of the greens in the foreground and the fairway heading to it in the background. Not all of the street crosses have us going up and over an overpass. In this case, the overpass goes over us. Well, hey there, little fella. Surprisingly, the vegetation and natural look continues as we go along. It looks like this area was burned recently, probably a prescribed burn. You can see some of the black markings on the tree, and you can also see the greenery coming back up from the ashes. Looking at a map of this area between Interstate 75 and the Gulf, you would never know that there was this much open land. I believe we are currently riding through Oscar Scherer State Park, which explains some of the greenery, but there has to be more to it than that, because I would say over half to 2/3 of the route is this undeveloped natural look. Here we cross another stream, and you can see that the existing railroad bridge was still in place, but they elected not to use it and used one of these prefabricated bridges instead. Mile after mile, Mrs. E-Hermes and I just continue to be amazed at the amount of natural open landscape. Even as we start to approach the city of Sarasota proper itself, you can see that most of the residential properties that are along the route are still pretty well screened by natural vegetation. Even approaching the 2/3 point, or 8 miles into the route, you can see that the natural vegetation and open look continues without much development. At regular intervals along the route, they have these markers that give your location so you can use it to call emergency services in case of an accident. We also have these original railroad mile markers along the route. I don't really understand them. They're in the 8 and 900 mile range, which is too far for Atlanta, not far enough for New York or Chicago. Perhaps they reference St. Louis? At about mile 9, they have this interesting overhead sign, and they've also made neat use of the old railroad signals as decorative features. Now this is much more what I would have expected for most of the route. We are probably close to mile marker 10 now, so it's not surprising we're almost into the heart of Sarasota. But even on the right side of the path, it's still fairly undeveloped. But the left side here, this is the industrial look I would have expected along much more of the route than what we've seen. At several of the current at-grade crossings, we've noticed that they are building additional overpasses. This is probably partially because of the popularity of the trail, and also probably because the traffic on the very busy streets that we have to cross probably doesn't like getting stopped on a regular basis, especially on the weekends when the trail is very busy. So this will allow us to go over the roadway safely and allow the motorists to keep trucking along without having to stop for us. As we've noted, there are a variety of options for crossings depending on how busy the street is. Some are completely unprotected. Some have flashing yellow signs like this. Some have traffic signals that you have to wait for. And the busiest ones have bridges to go over the traffic. It's pretty safe if you pay attention. At this very busy street, we have a full traffic signal for now until the bridge is completed, but they are building an overpass. There are a number of trailhead facilities like this with restrooms, water fill stations, parking areas, and playgrounds for the children. Sarasota, Florida seems to have a thriving Amish or Mennonite population. They use the trail regularly, typically on electric bicycles and especially electric tricycles, something they would never be allowed to use from our experience with the Amish community in Northeast Ohio. We have reached the end of the line, the northern terminus of the Legacy Trail, at a busy cross street rather unceremoniously in downtown Sarasota. You can clearly see the continuation of the abandoned railroad across the busy street. Perhaps someday they'll extend it even further to the north. Looks like it's time for us to head back to the car.
A few final thoughts as Mrs. E-Hermes helps me load the bikes back onto the Rivian. We have the batteries inside charging. We have a timer on them so we don't go too far with them. The trail did indeed end unceremoniously in the middle of Sarasota. But right before that, there was a park, Payne Park. Unfortunately, there wasn't a sign for it from the trail, so we didn't miss it. We didn't see it. But I believe that's really considered the terminus of the trail. We hope you enjoyed this look at the Legacy Bike Trail between Venice and Sarasota, Florida. If you did, please hit the like button. Of course, we really want you to subscribe if you have not done so already. And please hit that bell button to be notified of our upcoming content. Thank you!